There are apt reports which say that when the tide turns, it turns. The tide certainly seems to have turned for some of the metal counters or the metal space by and large, be it steel, be it aluminum, be it base metals. Almost everybody seems to be in a sweet spot. The question is, can these good times become good times for companies which went through a tough cycle and are now coming out of it, or in fact in certain cases come out of it? A case in point is JSPL, firmly in focus by virtue of the corporate action that it took, repaid all the interest that it had to pay, and looking to get out of the joint lenders forum as well. But there is so much more to talk about JSPL besides talking about debt and joint lenders forum and more. To talk about all of that, Mr. Naveen Jindal joins us right now. Mr. Jindal, thanks so much for speaking to us at Bloomberg Quint. Let's first talk about the news and get it out of the way. I presume with what you have done, you are firmly out of any kind of magnifying glass with your lenders, and I presume from what I read that you expect that you'll be out of the JLF pretty soon.
That's right, Neeraj, because we have whatever overdues that were there, we have cleared those with the sale of oxygen plant. Our EBITDA is improving every quarter, and banks have shown full confidence in JSPL and its performance. We used to be extremely well operating and well performing company in the past. With the cancellation of coal blocks and that we had to pay additional levy of 3,500 crores, and then the downturn of steel industry, we had to face all these problems, and then China was dumping. But then since the government introduced minimum import price on steel, anti-dumping duty on various products, steel fortunes have started to change. And JSPL, we are very confident with our Angul facilities ramping up its production, because we just commissioned India's largest and most modern blast furnace just 3 months ago. So once that comes up fully, which we hope that by end of next month, we will be operating at 70 to 80% capacity level. So that would tremendously improve the performance of the company. So we are very bullish at JSPL that by end of this year, by December calendar year, we would be in a much stronger situation.
Yeah, I know the street is pretty bullish on that as well, Mr. Jindal. Just a couple of questions. Some of these may be maybe things of the past, but you know that list that was put out, 12 companies which were under distress, and then 50 additional companies that could be under distress. There was never a mention of what those 50 companies could be. My question to you is, while it may be a thing of the past, were you at any point of time in your conversations aware that maybe JSPL could have been one, if at all, or that was never a case in the first place?
You see, firstly, I mean, anybody, in India, all kinds of rumors are floating all the time. You can put anyone's name anywhere in any kind of list, because there is no accountability to such kind of lists. So we at JSPL today, when we know that not even 1 rupee is owed to any bank, so why should any bank be concerned? In the last 3 years, we have paid 10,000 crores in interest. We have repaid 6,000 crores, and so total of 16,000 crores is what we have paid to the banks. So when we are paying all our interest, which is more than 3,000 crores every year on time, and whatever overdues were there in the system, so obviously we don't foresee any problem. But as far as someone looking through a magnifying glass or someone trying to pinpoint faults, that happens all day long. All the time things are happening. But we will address anything like that happens. We will address because we are very confident that no bank is going to lose even a single rupee in JSPL. Whereas all the companies that have been taken to NCLT, we all know that the banks are going to lose more than 50%. Maybe up to 70-80% in certain cases in many of those companies. So which is a huge loss to the nation, huge loss to the banks, huge loss to all those promoters. So it's a very unfortunate situation, but that is a fact of life for many.
That's true. So you built a fairly successful business which got plagued by various issues. We can get into it, power sector issues, indebtedness, so on and so forth. A lot of companies which found the wrong end of the stick, if I can use that term, Mr. Jindal, and resorted to or had to resort to asset sales left, right, center in order to pay off the debt, haven't necessarily come out. Now, you've shown part strength out there in terms of deleveraging by selling assets and paying off interest and debt, but if I read the recent commentary that has come into you from you on various media forums, you now believe that the time for asset sales may be over. If at all there is a right price, you might consider it, but you actually want to revive this business and start paying off interest via the business income that comes in. How would the next 12 to 24 months shape up? One, in terms of the business, and two, in terms of the indebtedness, because you have paid off, yes, but the amount of debt is still pretty high. How would that debt picture unravel for you as a company?
So Neeraj, you yourself have explained everything actually very well. So now these are our core assets, the power assets and steel assets. So whatever major things we had to divest, we have already divested. So we are now really looking at ramping up the production. You know, in Angul, say on an average, we've been producing 1 lakh tons per month, but we really need to be producing 3 to 4 lakh tons a month in Angul. So 3 to 4 times of the production what it is doing at present. So we'll be able to easily achieve up to more than 2 lakh tons by December this year. And by March, within 6 months, we'll be achieving 3 lakh tons per month. So once we ramp up this production, that means we would have doubled the production that we're doing now. So last year we produced 3.5 million tons of steel in India. And this year, we hope there will be anywhere between 5 to 5.5 million. Next year, we'll definitely be producing more than 7 million tons of steel in India. So as soon as we do that, because we have done all our capex, so capital expenditure is already done. So when with strong EBITDAs, and these plants are most modern and most efficient plants. So I'm sure with the EBITDA, the kind of EBITDA we will generate, we'll have no problems in servicing this debt. After all, in JSPL standalone, our debt is not more than 25,000 crores. So 25,000 crores with a capacity of 8 million tons is not much. This debt is not much. In a power company, JPL, we have a debt of 8,400 crores, but we also have a generating capacity of 3,400 megawatt. With all the initiatives that the government is taking to give power to each and every household all over the country, definitely our power consumption is going to increase. And when that happens, we will be at the forefront supplying power, supplying steel. So, and then internationally, our Oman unit is doing very well. Mozambique has started to do well. South Africa is all right. Australia is an area of concern. But as things improve in all the other areas, then we will turn our attention to Australia, because that also has a tremendous potential. So in the next 12 to 24 months, we are very confident that with our internal accruals itself, we will be able to not only service the debt properly, but also start to repay. And then we are always open to other companies investing into JSPL. You know, we don't have to necessarily divest assets. We will be raising equity early next year. We will be raising some equity then. There are some parties who have strategic interest in the company. We can also take in 10% to 15% strategic investor into JSPL. But all these things we are looking at doing in the last quarter. After we have commissioned Angul fully, you know, we will be very strong. So our revenues will be very strong, EBITDA will be very strong, and that would be the time we would get the right valuations. Because today I feel we are really not valued properly. So by December, after commissioning of basic oxygen furnace in Angul, I'm sure things will change dramatically.
Yeah, inshallah, as they say, Mr. Jindal. You know, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions on that, but just before that, since you mentioned, are you in active conversations as well? Because I'm sure these conversations of these nature take a long time. And would you need to get in, or would you look to get in, not need to, but would you look to get in a strategic investor at the parent level or the company level, or would you get it at a project specific level?
No, at the company level. Because you know, the investors, they are very focused. You know, some investors want to be, say, in steel. Some investor wants to be investing in only in power. So whichever these companies, JSPL is purely a steel company, and Jindal Power Limited is purely a power company, even though it's a subsidiary of JSPL, but it is a power company. So with those, we will take the investors wherever they are interested accordingly. We will offer them that opportunity.
Okay, it is happening at an opportune time, I would have to admit, Mr. Jindal. I mean, steel spreads robust. The competition in the domestic longs market isn't as much as it used to be. So all of this is happening at an opportune time for you. My only question to you is, and I don't know how much of a light you can throw in this, but if I look at reports across the brokerage houses, and if I look at the report that my analyst Nikki gave me as well, the estimates of the quantum of improvement that could happen in your EBITDA, consequently your PAT, varies quite significantly over a 2-year, 3-year time frame. You are probably the best analyst for your company. If you can throw some light on how do you expect numbers, not really pinpointed down to an EPS or a percentage margin, but a broad brush estimate of how numbers could shape up from now, say until 2 Diwalis hence.
From now till when?
Till until the next 2 years, next 24 months.
Okay. So see, like I said, last year we produced 3.5 million tons, and our standalone EBITDA for JSPL was 2,800, and our consolidated was around 4,600 crores. So this year, our standalone for JSPL, we should be producing around 5.25 to 5.5 million tons. So it's substantially more than 3.5 million tons of steel that we produced. And EBITDA also for standalone should be more than 4,000 crores. And consolidated should be more than 5,500 crores consolidated EBITDA. So sorry, probably more than 6,000 crores for consolidated EBITDA for JSPL Group. And then, so in the next year, from 5.5, we will definitely be producing 7 million tons steel in India. So accordingly, and then, all this ramping up, efficiency, you start to make the operations much more efficient, because this is a very large blast furnace. So next year, we are really looking forward to, we will be as competitive as any of the top steel producers in the world. So we feel that next year steel should be very good, and power also, we feel that power consumption is only increasing. And if you see both steel and power, if you see the per capita consumption in India, both for steel and power, is very low compared to even world average. And if you compare to the developed countries, I mean, we are nowhere. We are consuming only 63 kgs of steel per person per year, and China is consuming more than 400. World average is more than 200. Right. Similarly, our power consumption is just 1100 kilowatt hours per person per year, whereas in developed countries more than 10,000, 15,000 units per person. So there is a lot of unmet demand. Right. So if the economy does well, definitely these sectors can't stay behind. They will be doing much better than the economy.
Yeah, well, and that's the assumption that I think people are making. Viewers, remember, the peak debt seems to be behind the company. The market cap is a fraction of what the EV actually is. So might be interesting times. Since you brought up power, last couple of questions, Mr. Jindal. Firstly, merchant power rates, as we saw, at least what we saw the last month, there was a bit of a pickup, quite a bit of a pickup, the highest in the last few months. At the same time, I mean, if you look at the other power segments, wind power, for example, things have come off. But thermal power, with the merchant power rates picking up, how is the scene, and is this a secular trend, or do you believe that the real stable rates in India could be slightly lower than where we are settled right now?
Well, I think the real rates should be much lower actually, because these rates are not really sustainable rates. These are like sometimes going as high as 4.5, 5, 6 rupees. But this is really because there is a severe shortage of coal at the present, because of the rains or whatever, Coal India was not able to produce. And there's huge premium. We are buying in the auction. We are paying more than 100% premium on coal. And it's really, so if you buy coal at double, triple the price, then obviously you have to pass on that cost. So it's really sad that, I mean, we having the fifth largest reserves of coal in the world, and still there is such a scarcity of coal here. So I hope that Coal India would start to produce a lot more coal and make it available, so that people don't have to fall over each other and paying huge premium to get the basic raw material to light up homes, to light up 1 billion homes in India. So I feel the prices of power will come down, that your question was, but the fuel should come down much more. There is no reason for coal to be expensive. I mean, we are paying sometimes 4 to 5 times of the price of coal that it is available in South Africa or Australia. Now, we can't compare bringing that coal here, but at Pithead, that coal would be available in South Africa at 1/4 the cost of what we are buying over here. So if the Coal India produces this coal efficiently and in enough quantity, there should be no dearth of coal. And then, even though the price of power will come down, still the companies will make a lot more money. Still the power companies will make a lot more money, and there will be power available for billions of Indians at a cheaper price.
Yeah, you. If I'm not wrong, Mr. Jindal, you looking to sell off Tanmar 1. I mean, some light on how the power side of the business and in terms of asset sales would shape up. And a follow-up to that is, without getting into names, but we've seen some of the most marquee names and most marquee projects almost about to be shelved off as well. You've seen the bad end of the cycle. Do you reckon that over the course of the next 24 months, while steel is going to work for you, power could actually make a comeback in a meaningful way for JSPL? Forget the industry right now, just talking about JSPL.
Okay, on the 1,000 megawatt, it's a complex deal. There are lots of conditions precedent that we have to meet. We have to ensure that there is a coal linkage. We have to ensure that there are PPAs. So it is taking time. That's why we have time till next year. So we hope in that much time we will be able to tie up. And I see a very bright future for Jindal Power, because our project is set up. There is a whole lot of coal potential. There is 200 billion tons of coal within a 100-kilometer radius of where our plant is, and there is a potential to produce more than 100 million tons of coal there every year, whereas presently the production is only 25 to 30 million tons. So there is a huge potential. So I'm sure in the next few years coal will be available, and a whole lot of old plants, because there was a report of Central Electricity Authority that all the plants which are more than 25, 30 years old, where environmental norms are not being met, which are highly polluting, the coal consumption is very high. So once those plants are decommissioned, so there will be all these stranded capacities, they will come up. And once the demand picks up, because there are not many new projects that are coming up. So I feel that all these plants which have already been set up but are not operating at full capacity, say like we are operating at 50 to 60% capacity today. So we are very confident in the next 1.5 to 2 years that we would be operating again at 90 to 100% capacity.
Wow. Okay. My last question, Mr. Jindal, is all the things that are happening, one on the cycle, two at the company level, which you are doing actively as well in order to repay interest and pay interest and repay debt. Could this, to your mind, trigger a positive credit event for you? Because, just looking at your numbers, if indeed the rating moves up from the current D to whatever level it does move up to, it could result in significant cost savings for you as a company. Is that something that you would be vying for?
Obviously, the whole point is, see, earlier we were in default. We were a SMA 2 company. That means we had overdues which were more than 60 days old. So whereas now after the oxygen plant sale, there is a zero overdue today, and we are a current account. So with the current account, we are confident of maintaining this in the next 3 months, and then we will get an investment rating. And then we will work very hard. We are not going to be borrowing any, we're not going to be making much of borrowings. So we are going to continuously keep on paying the debt, and make JSPL very, very robust. And we used to have A plus rating, and I'm sure in next next year or two we'll definitely go back to that same rating, and this time we're going to keep it. We're going to be very conservative. We've learned a lot from our these challenges that we faced, and I hope next time around, even though challenges come, we're going to be able to face them even better.
Well, we hope so too, Mr. Jindal, and I'm sure that we'll have a lot of options or opportunities to talk over the course of the next 6 months, as they promise to be action-packed for JSPL. But keep up the good work, and look forward to talking to you once again. Festive greetings from all of us here at Bloomberg Quint to you and your team at JSPL.
Thank you, Neeraj. Thank you, Neeraj. Thank you very much.